Okay, we're back for part 2, Lost City of Atlantis. Let's see what we got.
First, why do I believe Plato as a fact? Plato was from Athens. It is said that Atlantis was at war with Greece. That is why I believe him. It was part of his history.
Yeah, pretty much not a whole lot to say there, just I agree with all that. It was part of his history, it was in their war.
History. Plato says Atlantis was a large island past the Pillars of Hercules.
Now that's one that a lot of people get confused on. It was past the pillars. I think the book, if I remember correctly, says beyond the pillars of Hercules. That has caused so much confusion in people's minds, the people who find it. Real simple way to point this out. Over here, this is Google Earth Pro. This is Greece over here. Right there. That's where Plato was. And the Pillars of Hercules is over here, the Straits of Gibraltar. And if you go, from Greece beyond the Pillars of Hercules, well, that's what you got. Beyond is out here. A lot of people seem to get that fact messed up.
Hercules. That will put you in the Atlantic Ocean. I would like you to remember the size of the island Plato talks about is huge, 227 miles by 340 miles. This is where I started my search.
Now Plato don't use miles, he uses stadia and stadium, and I believe one stadia is 600 feet. And if I remember correctly, Plato states it 2,000 stadia by 3,000 stadia, which converts to that.
Search. I would add that many people use Plato as a main reference guide about finding Atlantis, because his books Timaeus and Critias are the only known writing about Atlantis. There are so many people claiming to have found Atlantis because 1. Created in Master PDF Editor. Created in Master P.
You have to excuse this, it's just a mess up.
PDF Editor. Created in Master PDF Editor. Created in Master PDF Editor. They have found a city controlled by Atlantis people, but they omit many facts of Plato's words and twist the rest.
That's what I mean. Perfect example is Greece is here, the Pillars of Hercules is here. Well, there's people that believe the island of Crete is it somewhere over here? I can't remember where it is for sure, but it's within the Mediterranean here. I think it's over here, I'm not sure. But it's not beyond the Pillars of Hercules, so therefore, according to Plato, it can't be Atlantis. Maybe one of their sub-cities or some other city, but it's not the lost city of Atlantis. There's a gentleman that believes the lost city of Atlantis is over here somewhere. Well, that is past the Pillars of Hercules, but it's not an island like Plato states. A large island. That's part of a continent. So we go back here.
Rest. Because it does not fit their findings, they manipulate Plato's story. I have not done this. I took the main facts that I know would be able to still be found. Plato gives the size of the land, 227 miles by 340 miles, and a good description of Atlantis, mountain range to the north running east to west, and the city of Atlantis, then the plains to the south.
Now at first, when I started looking for the lost city of Atlantis, I went to the ocean, past the Pillars of Heracles, right there, Spain, America's over there, and I just made a grid on the floor, going, just making squares. Of course I saved all these lines. I didn't do as I'm doing now. I'd go through and save it. And I made large squares by using that pattern all over the Atlantic. And I found 3 basic locations that I thought might be close. I thought this place up here, but it didn't quite fit all the descriptions. And I thought these islands over here in this mess, but they don't fit the description. And we have some islands and stuff over here, but I didn't think it was that far, so I pulled them out. But we have mountain range right here going east to west. We have the Azo Islands, and if you look, the mountain range up above, and plains to the south.
South. So given these facts, it makes sense to me to look for the parts that fit the description Plato gives. Yes, most of the land of Atlantis is about 95% underwater, but given the fact that in Yellowstone Park has hot and cold water like Plato's Atlantis, and it is said to be a supervolcano, and if and when it explodes, it can take out about 1/3 of the USA, yes, 1/3 of the USA. One article I read says parts of the land in Yellowstone has drove 1,000 feet with the last eruption.
Now as far as Atlantis goes, this is the continent of Atlantis right here. I'll just make a quick outline. This is not exact. This is very brief and quickly done. Why is that not working? Getting in too much hurry, I guess. Okay, right there is the basic shape of the lost continent of Atlantis.
Eruption.
As far as eruptions go, if you look, you have a major fault line here and another fault line going through over here, and Atlantis is right in the middle of everything. I don't know how it got to be. Atlantis is currently underneath 4,000 feet of water. I don't know how it got down that far. I'm not a scientist, but I know some way either the water was a lot lower than it is now, or that land was a lot higher. One way or another, something happened somewhere. You have to talk to somebody else about that.
Eruption. Plato says that the mud was so bad that ships could not transgress the reagent anymore after it sank, Could this be cause of a supervolcano going off underwater, creating a large sinkhole, and the mud and rock blocks the ships from passing? I think it could be possible.
I think it could be possible. As I was showing you where the fault lines were, I believe that Atlantis, the island, was on a supervolcano. They said one in Wyoming, one mountain sunk 1,000 feet just in one eruption. I think it could be.
Possible. So why is it so hard to believe Atlantis is underwater? It seemed to me with Atlantis had been on a small mountain. The fact it has been dug out with rings all around it. Then many generations to come mined the mountain and improved on the city. Port docks carved into the mountain. Tunnels for minerals to use in the Temple of Poseidon. All taken out of a small mountain.
Now Plato talks about a small mountain. Let's get down and dirty. You want to see the lost city of Atlantis? Go over here by the large Azor Island. Right over here. Right here is a small mountain. Put a line through there. At the top of this mountain right here, this is the basic size of the mountain. You see part of it's covered with dirt on this side. So it's basically right there. And the top of this mountain, if you look down below at your elevation, is minus 4,295 feet. Look down here, this is the lost city of Atlantis, where the pointer is now. That is 7,188 feet. So this little difference is a pretty good sized little mountain. I think these messed up area right here, I think that's the port docks they was talking about. Obviously, they're not going to be underneath the city if they slid 2,000 feet down a mountain. 3,000 feet, but you can see a third of the city is covered over here. This is a very volcanic area, I believe. So a lot of stuff is covered. Tons of dirt and silt, everything over the eons and years, 12,000 years to be exact.
Mountain. Can it be a supervolcano right on the biggest fault line ever, that caused a large landmass to vanish under the water, with earthquakes and a massive rainflow flooding all the topsoil causing mudslides, the volcanoes to erupt, and all the digging caused a landslide of the city of Atlantis to slide 2,000 feet down a small mountain? Again, I think so.
I think so too.
Plato says that it was 12,000 years ago this happened. If so, then the amount of sediment covering the city could be enormous. Sediment can accumulate as slowly as 0.1 millimeter.
When I looked this part up, I was really surprised on how much sediment can actually add up down there.
0.04 inch per 1,000 years, in the middle of the ocean where only wind-blown material is deposited, to as fast as 1 meter, 3.25 feet, per year along continental margins. More typical deep-sea rates are on the order of several centimeters per 1,000 years. Read more. http://www.waterencyclopedia.com/oc-floor-sediments.html #X6H0UNODA8. The fact that
That is where I got the information about that. So that's going to be the end of the video today, and we will go on and continue this more later. Thank you very much for listening.